Hey, this is Mark A. Altman.
And this is Darren Doctorman.
And this is Ashley Miller.
On this episode of Inglorious,
Treksperts.
It's Space 1999, the 50th anniversary. Down, 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 dun, 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 down.
Thank you, ladies and
Gonna let
gentlemen.
you
It's good to
keep
see you.
going
See you
there.
next week.
Yeah. We're
Fly like an eagle.
this week we're the Alpha Spurts.
Ooh,
Whoa.
no, we're not.
No, that's not a let's workshop that.
Alpha Bits.
That's worse than the Treksperts in training.
Oh my God, 50 years since Space 1999.
It's hard
We've done
to
a
believe.
couple. It's hard to believe. We've done a couple of these shows over the years. Why, Darren, are we so fascinated by a show? It's not really that good.
Because it was the only thing there in those the years of the desert. It showed up right when we needed something.
Yeah, I think that's true. I know that it was right when we were discovering Star Trek in syndication, finding out, oh, these are repeats. They're not making any new ones.
Right.
And probably for a lot of us, reading sci-fi for the first time, discovering classic sci-fi movies, and then suddenly, I can't divest my love for Space 1999 with Starlog, because when Starlog #1 came out, it had Star Trek on the cover.
Right. But
When
Starlog
Starlog
number
number two came out, it had Space 1999 on the cover.
beautiful painting of Martin and Barbara.
Our friend, Barbara Bain. I just like to say that.
They're coming to
friend,
get you, Barbara.
Barbara Bain. Our new friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Nick.
So-
Nick's your buddy. Nick.
And Nick, yeah, we won Nick over.
We did
He
win
loved the
Nick
way he
over.
was treated, and he couldn't believe what a good time he had. I think
I couldn't
it's like-
believe what a good time he had.
I couldn't believe what a good time I had.
I thought this was a great panel we did with with Barbara Bain and Nick Tate. But before we talk about that, so Ashley, what about you? What does Space 1999 mean to you?
What I dug about it, man, was it was just the right amount of scary for me at that age, because I feel like I was 6 or 7 when I first started watching it with my brother, who I think introduced me to it because he was a huge Star Trek fan, introduced me to Star Trek. So Space 1999 was like, it was the things that at 6 or 7 I appreciated about Star Trek, plus there was just, it's a little creepier.
There
It's
were
creepy.
monsters. There were
There are
monsters.
monsters. And I
There are
loved
monsters,
that aspect of
Ripley.
it. Also, I loved the eagle because that was cool. And I loved the staple gun that they used as a weapon. And that was cool. Like I just felt like the whole vibe of the thing was cool. And it was different. It wasn't another Star. Like, I didn't like stuff like Lost in Space, right? Like, that wasn't me. Like, Space 1999 felt like that was my vibe. Like, that's what I dug.
It's funny. It's kind of like, what if 2001 had action in it? It was like
Yeah.
kind of like,
Oh, that's
because
exactly what it was. Because that's what drew me to it, because I had already seen and loved 2001. So it looked just like it in my, young mind. And I loved that aspect to it.
yeah, I think Ashley, what you said true is so true also, that at the time a lot of us were making like Super 8 movies, and we were like reading Cinemagic and all this stuff, and so the miniatures, like the eagle and the moon and everything, was so cool. Like the eagles are so cool. I think mostly because they felt real. Like they felt like they actually were, and it's kind of what we love about the technical manual in Star Trek. They had different eagles, for different jobs.
Yeah.
And so, and it just felt like the moon base felt kind of real. It's like they had the travel tubes to get out to the pad, and then I just love the liftoff where they come up, they raise up out of the hangar, And I tried to do that on my show on Pandora, and I just couldn't get the visual effects people to get what I was going for. But it was like, I love the whole idea of it lifting up and, you know, the eagles taking off from the launch pad and then going back down. And it's so cool.
And I loved the toys. I loved that, like the eagle toy, like you could take the front of it off and you could put it onto like the rockets in the back, and it was like having like more than one toy, like
It was
all in one.
modular.
Mini Eagle
modular.
One to the rescue.
That's right. I should go bust out my eagle that is
Plus, I
currently
think,
sitting up on my shelf right now.
you know, it was cool for us because I think most of us had seen Mission Impossible before. So you'd seen Martin Landau and Barbara Bain. So now that I have them as the stars of this sci-fi thing, it made it feel like big.
It was
and
like
cool.
the best parts of you know, Mission Impossible and Star Trek sort of melded together.
Yeah, totally. You absolutely had that kind of feeling, like, and I just think, yeah, the creepy factor, it's something, you know, we always talk about, oh, you know, Space 99 is so derivative of Star Trek and 2001.
Not really.
But Star Trek, you know, could have benefited from Space 1999, you know, in that eerie creepiness. I remember when they were doing Enterprise, they said they really wanted to get a sense of how space was dangerous, and that, like, in the original series, you'd go places and it felt like you were the only starship, and it was really hard to navigate all this weirdness because you were out there alone. Like Space 1999, man, they nailed that. They got that. Like, we're out here alone. There's no one coming to help us, and we have to just survive on our wits.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really cool. And like you said, the staple gun. I used to. It's funny. I used to, when I was a kid. I was a member of Beach Club, the beach club where they shot the Flamingo Kid, and I had this friend Alan Rothenstreich, and we used to play Space 1999, and we had these chaises. So that would be the Eagles, and then the thing would come up, and it would be like you know, we would go the Eagle, and then I had the water gun, which was the Space 1999 water gun. But the problem with it was you could barely put any water in there because it's just, so whenever you got in a water gun fight, you were always getting your ass kicked because there was not enough water in the Space 1999. But I loved it because it was so badass.
I so much wanted the Comlock walkie-talkies. Never got them. It's one of those things that I saw in the catalog and was never to be. But I did have the Mattel Eagle. That one great Christmas.
I just went looking for mine, and it's
gone.
not in my office. I mean, I think I blown out of orbit. But I know it is in this house someplace, and now I'm like concerned.
You know what that means? Nick Tate was smart and didn't hang around while the moon was blasting out of orbit.
That's right.
I never had the Mego Eagle. That was one of my great the Mattel Eagle. I desperately wanted a Mattel Eagle and never got one. You know, years later, I'm sure I built the model kit, right? And I built, you know, I had a dinky one, but I never had the.
I'm sorry,
that's a sound bite.
But I never had the, the Mattel Eagle until 2 weeks ago, because the great Aaron Carlson has given it on loan to me for a year.
Really?
Yes. So I have the Eagle for a year. I got to give it back to him next year. But
so you wouldn't mind if we asked Aaron if that was actually the case?
Well, I don't think he really wants to be bothered. I think he's very busy and probably doesn't want to hear from you. I think
he doesn't want to deal with him.
I think he changed his number and his email. And
you know, I had an Eagle that was the weirdest thing. It was a cardboard kit. And it was like flat pieces of thick cardboard that went together and straws that went together to form the space frame. It was awful, but it was also kind of cool because there was nothing like it anywhere. And, you know, I made a cardboard landing site for the Eagle, and I got some clay and I made a moon surface, and lots of creative energy went into having things when you didn't have things.
That's right.
We've talked about that a lot. It's so true. It's like, the fact that there wasn't this abundance of, you know, so you had to be creative. And I mean, and Space 99 certainly inspired that. I mean, I remember one time I was homesick, much like today, and my dad came home, and I was sitting on the stairs waiting for him to get home, and he had brought me a Space 1999 board game.
Nice.
I remember it. I was so excited.
Yeah.
And it was great. And I had that for many years, that Space 1999. I don't remember how you played it. I don't remember anything about it. I just remember the big yellow box.
Well, the great thing is about a board game of Space 1999, it feels very much like watching an episode of the series.
It's slow. It's really slow. But it's also very interesting. I thought it was interesting, as people see when they listen to this panel. First of all, it's very rare that you get Barbara and Nick doing panels together.
Right.
Because when they're at Space 1999 panels, they do their individual panels because they need to fill the day. How many, Space 99 convention. So we had them on together, and I thought that was great. Because whether it was true or not, she's like, I never heard that story. Right. And she seemed genuinely fascinated by Nick's account of some of the things that went on. I know
you had like these look, it's old people Unchained. Like they have these stories. They give 0 Fs like about like anything anymore about telling it. There's no more politics. There's none of that. They don't feel the need to like protect anybody. It was glorious.
Right.
Yeah. I had tried to get Catherine Schell for on Pandora because she lives in Switzerland. And man, I wish that it was going to be her and George Lazenby. God, I wish that happened. And Lazenby was in Australia. He just didn't want to come all the way to Bulgaria, at least for what we could pay him. I don't think he just got back from LA. And it was like, so the timing didn't work out. And we really only wanted Catherine Schell if we got George. So, but I tried to get Catherine for our panel, but again, she's in, Switzerland, and she just doesn't, Sweden. She's in Sweden. But I don't think, she just didn't want to make the long trip to
I don't blame her.
To Vegas. Yeah, I don't blame her either.
I barely wanted to make the trip from Los Angeles.
But, it's so interesting because, much like people, dislike the 3rd season of the original Star Trek, you talk to anybody who's a diehard Space 1999 fan, and I'm not one of these people, but they just hate the 2nd season. I don't think it's that bad.
That's as unfounded as hating the 3rd season of Star Trek. There are good points and there are bad points. Catherine Schell is luminous.
She's great.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she plays a fascinating character that does interesting things, and she's extremely fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's fun to watch in Guardians of Peri, the 1st season of Space 99. She's great in that, but she's great in as Maya. Maya's a really fun character, and there is a little more character development in the 2nd season, and they have the lasers, which I liked. They suddenly built lasers on the moon, so that was
moon lasers.
Cool. Plus you can't
freaking moon with a freaking laser on its head.
Space 1999 is an influential show. I mean, Ron Moore admitted to us, and it's not a secret that when he did Battlestar Galactica, his idea for the opening credits was based on Space 1999, showing all these clips from the episode. It doesn't flash this episode, but it basically is the same idea to reel people in, to show them footage from what's about to happen. And it's really...
There are many other connections that we should go into, but after people listen to the...
we should. And before we do that, I think you just got to just to show them how diehard crazy Space 99 fans we may be, the story of September 13th, 1999.
Well, on the actual day, September 13th, 1999, I had a little gathering at my apartment in Sherman Oaks, and we watched, did we watch just one or a couple episodes?
No, we watched a whole mess of episodes.
Of Space 1999.
On Laserdisc.
And then went out on the balcony and looked up to see if the moon was still there.
Yep. And we all marched outside. We didn't go on the balcony. We actually went outside, downstairs. You lived in an apartment at the time. We walked outside and looked up at the moon to make sure it was still there. And sure enough, it was.
And
that's pretty great.
The fake moon had been put up.
Yeah,
sure enough.
Exactly.
The illusion had been cast again.
Yeah, it was like Mojo, Rob Burnett, you, me. I forget who else was there that day.
Steve Melching.
Of course, Steve Melching. Yeah.
Once again, I missed all the good shit.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's true. like Rob's Eyes Wide Shut party, which will not be on this podcast. Damn. Okay, so with that said, celebrate the 50th anniversary of Space 1999. Couldn't imagine having two better guests for this. The great Barbara BAIN and Nick Tate. So they'll join us at Star Trek Las Vegas after these brief commercial messages, and we'll be back afterwards with a few closing thoughts. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Psst, healthcare pros, word's out, and it's too good to keep quiet. Look, LinkedIn is revolutionizing job hunting, making it possible to search by specialty, shift preference, and salary. Endless scrolling is out. Whether it's a mental health therapist or dental hygienist, finding the perfect role is faster and easier than ever. Head to linkedin.com/healthcare and start your search today.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
I'm Martin Landau.
I'm Barbara Bain.
Join us for Space 1999 right here on WGN Television 9.
Everything you could imagine about the future and what exists beyond the boundaries of outer space are vividly confronted in Space 1999, the unlimited adventure series.
Be sure to watch every week Space 1999 here on WGN Television 9.
Space 1999. It's going to be a very good year.
Welcome to the Space 1999 50th anniversary celebration. We are so very pleased to welcome Nick Tate and Barbara Bain. Well, my first question, welcome, is I don't know if you saw yesterday, and this is a true story. NASA is talking about building a nuclear reactor on the moon. Is this a good idea from your experience?
From what I know, it's a bad idea.
Is there further light on us?
No.
This is it?
This is it.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I was expecting a nice hot key. Oh, well.
There we are. A little more. Little more.
There it goes.
There you go.
It's growing. It's growing.
And I can't see you guys either. But we're here, aren't we?
We're all here. And this is our biggest crowd all weekend. So they love you a lot.
How do you like that?
So, Barbara, I want to start by asking you,
yes.
You just finished a very successful Mission Impossible. And as Cinnamon Carter, one of the great names in television history, Cinnamon Carter, tell us about being approached by Jerry and Sylvia to do their new show, Space 1999.
Jerry and Sylvia arrived at our home and told us all about this show, which was going to shoot in London. Whoa, what an idea. And they described it. It was fascinating. Their presentation was fascinating. They didn't have a script yet, which wasn't a good idea. However, The way they described it, it was very intriguing, particularly in the fact that we were unarmed, we were a scientific base, and we were going to try to save the world. Always a good idea. Given that, there were so many elements that were appealing. And we said, well, and the one thing that struck me personally was at that time in England, I'm not sure it's still so, you stopped shooting at 5:20. Guess what? I could be home for dinner. And I love dinner, but I could also be home with my kids. And if I were to shoot another series in America, I would not get home till midnight. So that was very strong personal consideration. I wasn't sure my kids wanted me around, but I want one way or the other. But I wanted to not miss those years with them. So all those elements came together, including the fact that Sylvia said the only American designer she was interested in was Rudy Gernreich. And I said, well, Rudy has been a friend of mine forever. We met in New York, and in a very particularly beautiful moment, and we're very close friends. So that all worked out. So those are some of the reasons, probably enough. Gives you an idea, yes?
And for the Andersons, you too were the ammunition that they used to get the show made.
Yes.
They had previous,
Yes.
moderately successful shows
Yes.
on television. But the edict from the international consortium that they put together to fund this wanted 2 powerful American stars to be in it.
Yes.
And you and Martin were it.
Well, all of that worked.
It did.
And it made for an extraordinary adventure, actually, for us as a family, for making that show, and for the reach of that show through all the following years, which is, of course, it never stops, and it's remarkable.
It is remarkable. So, Nick, same question for you. Obviously, in case you hadn't noticed, Nick is Australian. He's our Aussie mate.
G'day, mate.
And he, how did this come into your orbit, so to speak? Was it its casting? Were you approached with an offer? How did Space 1999 come to you?
I was not in the country when it was being cast. I was in Australia. I was doing a play that had run for a year there, and it was coming to England. And I came over to meet the director, and he said that he was booked until the end of the year, which was going to be 12 months' time. So Robert Morley had brought me over to England to do the play, so I was going to sit around for a year. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I suddenly got a call from a man called Bruce Gingell, who was an Australian producer that had been hired by Sir Lou Grade to handle all his product in England. And he said, oh, it's lucky that you just arrived, Nick. He said, there's this space series that's going down, and Martin Landau and Barbara BAIN coming over from the States to do it. He said, you'd be great as one of the astronauts. I'm going to tell Sylvia she's got to meet you. So he sent me down to Pinewood, and Barbara and Martin were there working already because they were workshopping the show, which was fairly unusual for a British show. It was going to be workshopped for about 3 weeks, but in fact it was workshopped for a little bit longer. And I was very lucky it was, because they had an actor coming from Italy to play the role of the chief astronaut, and he got booked to do something else at the very last minute. And I had already accepted the role of a pilot that was going to die in the first episode with a nuclear blast. And they said, maybe we shouldn't kill Nick, because Martin and Barbara had met me and we got on very well.
Yep.
And I think Martin and I really clicked. We're born a few years apart, but actually one day apart. He was the 19th of June and I was the 18th of June.
Uh-huh.
And our personalities in many ways are fairly similar. We're both very naughty and we love jokes.
And we go on for hours telling amazing stories. Well, he did anyway. Mine weren't so amazing, but somehow or other I got the role. I mean, that's another long story, but I was elevated from the guy that was going to die to the guy that stayed.
Well, lucky for us.
You know, pardon me. You mentioned Lou Grade, who was Sir Lou at the time, not Lord Lou yet.
Yeah.
The first day in London, we were taken to his office. I've never mentioned this, but it's kind of funny. And he opened a bottle of 83-year-old scotch at 10 o'clock in the morning. Now, I don't drink, never have, mostly because I can't. I get silly in about half a minute, and then I go to sleep. What good is it? And it all tastes like cough medicine to me. So I'm not a good partner at the bar. Given that, this scotch was so old and special and being presented like such a gift, I didn't know what to do. I could not drink it. 10 o'clock in the morning. Even at 4 in the afternoon, I wouldn't have been able to drink it. But that's how I met
Lou Grade.
Sir Lou.
Did you take a sip?
No, I couldn't. Honey, I would have fallen on the floor in 1 minute.
The scotch at 10 in the morning explains Raise the Titanic. Now we know why he greenlit that movie. Okay, I want to ask you, obviously, now with big budget movies, it's common to reshoot and to refilm scenes or go back. It wasn't common in television at the time, but with the pilot, you had a director who was reshot and you did a lot of extra filming on the original episode.
Lee J. Katzin.
Lee Katzin, yeah. And can you tell us what wasn't working and, you know, how you felt about the reshoots on the pilot? Not traditionally a pilot, because the show had already been picked up, but on the first episode.
Are you asking me?
Please, Barbara.
Well, first of all, Lee was somebody we knew and had worked with here, not in Los Angeles. And he came, in essence, with us. I don't know, we just worked it through, whatever we had to do. And there was some issue in a certain way with the writing. The English writers weren't used to writing a cliffhanger at every 15 minutes. The American shows, you know, every time, for a commercial break, you gotta have something happening so people are gonna wanna watch. They're used to writing the old form, very slow, very beautiful build-up, enormous crisis, denouement. Well, that doesn't work on television. Television has its own structure. And of course, we were familiar with it, and they were wonderful writers, but they were like, huh, what? So we had to kind of work on that aspect just to get the idea that this had to have all these different, what we call cliffhangers, because they were not understood to start with. So there was a lot of give and take, and we worked it through.
Do you recall, Nick, that initial shooting that initial premiere breakaway and the changes that were happening?
Every single minute of it. I mean, it was magic. I was a little Australian actor. Sure, I'd done films in Australia and 2 television series, so I wasn't a newbie. But to be working in the studios for a start, Pinewood Studios always did major movies. All the James Bond movies, the Star Wars was later on. But of course, all the really big movies were made there. So we were very lucky to be on L&M stages. They were big film stages.
Huge.
This was a huge production. It wasn't just a television series. In fact, I think it was the most expensive syndicated series that had ever been made up until that point. And so it was ginormous. And for me to come into something like that, it was like the most important moments in my life. And as I said, Lee J. Katzin and I don't know who else was involved, but Michael Barnes, the casting director, did not cast me. I had come down there to meet Sylvia, and he said to me when he intercepted my going into her room, no, she's too busy, and the show's fully cast. I'm sorry you can't go in there. So he was leading me away, and as I walked down the corridor, I saw a door that was open, and there was a woman with beautiful red hair on the telephone. And I stopped for a minute and it said Sylvia Anderson. And she was on the phone and she looked at me and she said, hello. And I said, are you Sylvia? She said, yes. I said, I'm Johnny Tate's son. Now, my father was one of the voices of Thunderbirds, and she was Lady Penelope. So she knew my dad really well. She said, Johnny Tate, oh, you're his son? Yes, come in. And Michael Barnes is going, no, I'm sorry, Sylvia. It's all cast, I've told him. She said, it's all right, Michael, he's a friend of mine. And I said, bye-bye, Michael, and she closed the door on him. I had half an hour with her. So she was just wonderful. And she said, what a shame, it is cast, he's right. I don't know what we're going to do with you, but would you like to do something in it? Because it might be fun. Johnny Tate's son in the show playing one of the astronauts. Maybe we'd have to kill you. I'm sorry about that. But anyway, she said that I should meet Lee J. Katzin. And I met him, and he asked me what I'd done. Eventually, I accepted. There's a long story. I'm not going to go into it now. Not worth it. Well, it is worth it, but we've got other things to talk about. He decided that he had to workshop the show. So he made up all kinds of scenarios for us that weren't necessarily in this script. Lots of exciting stuff that he was going to do. And I was really into it, like throwing myself all over the place because I used to be a Green Beret, so I loved doing lots of action stuff. And I didn't want a stunt man. And I don't know why Lee took a shine to me, but he did. And he said to me one day, will you come and have lunch with me tomorrow? And I said, I'm not gay, Lee. And he said, no, I'm not. I want to know about your career. And I thought, I'll bet. So anyway, he said, bring your resume with you. And so anyway, I went and had lunch with Lee, and I talked about my career. And he looked at, I had a thing called TV Week. The front page of TV Week was my father, myself, and two other guys. We did a series in Australia called Dynasty, not Dynasty. It was before your dynasty. And my father was the lead of that series, brought out to Australia to do it. My father, if you don't know, was an actor that was the admiral in the wonderful American Stanley Kramer film On the Beach. And he had the largest Australian role in that film. Kramer wanted my dad to go back to America, but my dad was a drinking Australian actor, and he didn't want to go anywhere. No, I'm not going to go and do that, Lee, sorry. And then eventually he went and lived in England anyway, so he was there when I got Space 1999. But anyway, Lee said to me, I think it's a bit of a waste killing you, and I said, I agree with you. So I think he might have whispered in Barbara and Martin's ear, I don't know, but they asked me to come in and audition when they decided not to have the Italian actor. And he said to me, you do Italian, don't you? And I went, yeah, sure, of course I do. So I go in to do the audition with, talking in my Italian accent, you know, half a pound of potatoes a man. They go and leave. Sylvia said, stop it, Nick, that's terrible, terrible. Yeah. And he said, well, did you do any other? This is a continental show. I mean, okay, he doesn't have to be an Italian. What about a German? Look, he looks German. So he says, you do German? I said, jawohl. So I'm Viva asked the questions. I'm doing all this sort of stuff. And Sylvia said, this is ridiculous. Nick, go away. Stop it. And Lee's walking me out the door and he says, oh, wait a minute. Look, he's Australian. Why don't we have him do it Australian?
What an idea.
You know, and Lee and Sylvia said, no, it sounds too much like Cockney. I said, Cockney? What are you talking about, Silver? Australians don't kowtow to any man. Cockneys open the door for the governor and they know their place, but Australians call a spade a spade. And he said, there he is, that's the guy. See, that's what we want. So Sylvia told me to get the hell out, you know. I went home and I thought, well, that's the end of it. I did say, I haven't lost my role where I die as a pilot, right? She said, no, you can still die, it's okay. So I go home, and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, because we were just doing tests, my phone rang and my agent said to me, what the hell did you do? They've just offered you the chief pilot. What did you do? And I said, I don't know, but I'm not going to ask. And I came in and I met Barbara and Martin, and they were very gracious to me, and I had the most wonderful time with both of them. It was a great honor, and I was so thrilled in that show. And I thought Lee J. Katzin was a genius because he managed to, we shot the pilot in about, over 4 weeks, wasn't it? No?
I have no idea.
It was terribly long, but he said, I want to get this right. And it was very expensive, and I think he did get it right.
I think he did too.
Well, one of the things that made the show so expensive was...
Barbara.
Oh, sorry. Was a standing set. When you do a series, generally speaking, you have a tiny little standing set, and you start the show with one scene in that, and then you go on. Well, this standing set was almost 2 stages big. It was
huge.
Beautiful. But to light it, to act in it, all that, it took time. And we were kind of fascinated because we were so used to the small, whatever show it was that we shot in the States, you had what was called a standing set. And here was this magnificent, well-designed, beautiful, you all know because you looked at it a lot.
Vast.
And I lived in it a lot, but it was really special. But it took time. So I have no idea how long because I've never been good at that. I'm always on time, but I never know when something happened. So don't ask me a date. I don't know. I never knew, and I never can keep track of them.
Barbara, during that first season,
yes.
The sort of changes in your two characters, you and Martin, they were sort of having a dalliance with maybe are they going to wind up together, are they not? And how much influence did you two have on the writers as they progressively made the episodes?
I'm not sure, not so much. I think that just came out of us all being together, and there was a good idea to have a kind of hint at the romance.
Will they or won't they?
Yeah, and then also let us be free to have other relationships. One of the fun ones, which you probably remember, was Christopher Lee.
Oh, yeah.
You all knew Christopher Lee. He was a lovely, lovely, lovely person. I think he was the tallest man in England.
Yeah.
He was very tall, but they wanted him even taller. So they put him on an apple. They call it an apple box to stand on so he could be taller because he was supposed to be this unusually tall alien. So there was Christopher Lee's face way up here somewhere. I had scenes with him. And he had never in his whole life was asked to stand on an apple box. And he did, graciously.
The big mistake with Christopher Lee was to ask him, how are you? Because he'd tell you for an hour.
But
he was a wonderful
dear guy.
Oh, a wonderful actor.
Dear actor and
accomplished.
person.
He was an expert swordsman. He was an opera singer. There wasn't anything he couldn't do.
That's true. And stand on an apple box.
And stand on an apple box.
I just want to tell you, when I was growing up, and I watched the show first run when I was a kid, those episodes scared the shit out of me.
Really?
Yeah. It had this strange sort of creepy presence. The tone of it was very odd, as if you were actually there.
Yes.
And that episode with the giant tentacle thing with the big glowing eye.
Dragon's Domain.
I still have nightmares.
Really?
Still.
Oh, Lord, don't blame that on me.
No, I think it's all your fault.
That was probably done at Bray.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Johnny, who was Byrne, Johnny Byrne made it. We didn't do it.
But whenever the TV was on and we saw the famous ITC opening, da 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 da, every time it wasn't Space 1999, every time it was the Muppet Show, I was really angry because I wanted it to be Space 1999. So I just wanted you to know that.
That's very dear, and it's nice to hear. Johnny Byrne was brilliant.
Absolutely.
We did not have any of those creatures with us on the set.
Right.
Basically, we performed with a blank screen. And we look at that screen, and there was supposed to be a thing with lots of tentacles, but there was nothing. It was blank, and we'd have to act to that, and it was put in later. So it was also kind of a certain kind of demand on us.
Looking out into a void.
Well, yeah, and find a way to make it work. But that was just the technical aspects of it. Johnny Byrne, I think, left us to come here and do
Johnny was the writer.
Yeah.
Johnny Byrne.
Yeah.
Are you talking about one of the artists?
Brian Johnson.
That's it.
Brian Johnson came out to work on Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, exactly. We lost him.
Which brings up a really interesting
Brilliant.
question.
You were doing something at the time which to me meant nothing because I have a technical 0 in my brain. I have a word brain. That's all I have are words.
Yeah.
Nothing technical. And he mentioned something called fiber optics.
Yeah.
Whoa, you all know what that means.
I don't.
I still don't. I have no idea to this day what he was talking about. But that was a brain. Thank you. It was.
No, Brian was a veteran of 2001, and obviously 2001, A Space Odyssey was a huge influence on your show. Was that a film that was important to you, or that you looked at when preparing for Space 1999? Obviously, it shares a similar aesthetic. The visual effects are, inspired by that same team.
Nope. How you like my answer? Nope. No.
Well, because when it came out, you were busy doing impossible missions.
Yes. Yes. I was busy and having a really good time. Huh? Yes. We just lost Lalo.
Yes, Lalo Schifrin.
Yes, who was such a fabulous musician. And it's a great loss.
And it's arguably the most famous theme song ever.
No question. And we walked to it. We didn't hear it because he didn't play it on the set, but we walked to it. It was the other member of the team.
Yeah.
And Lalo, when he came here and he was put a star on Hollywood Boulevard, he said he came here with only his dreams, and they all came true.
Oh.
So he was a very special man, gentle man, beautiful man. Anyway, I'm glad him to be acknowledged.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Mission Impossible, because earlier you mentioned Space 1999 was largely set on standing sets. Mission Impossible, you would go on location a lot more. Do you prefer to just be on standing sets, or do you like the visceralness of going out on location?
Oh, I've never liked location. The boys like location.
Yeah.
The boys like the dirt and the grime. I don't. I like making up everything.
Yeah.
In the very old days of movies, and when I came to Hollywood, it was just the tail end of the studio system.
Right.
So everything was still done in the old fashion, which meant we built everything. We built an elevator on the set. We built everything. I like the idea of making up everything from scratch. But okay, I got used to everything. Digital cameras, get used to those. You get used to everything along the way. And I liked the Mitchell camera better than the digitals because I liked the sound of it. It had a certain kind of rhythm that was like, I'm a dancer, even though I just broke a foot, but never mind. I kind of danced with that camera. I could hear it, and it was like a friend. I just loved that camera. Well, that's gone. So there are a lot of changes that happened along the way. And, for me, it's not a question of preference. I just love the work. I love it. I love what I do. I'm so lucky that I've had a life doing what I really passionately love. And I wish that for everyone, because then life is just an absolute joy.
When you guys were hanging out in Stage 10 at Desilu.
When I what?
When you were hanging out at Stage 10 at Desilu, doing the show, how did you get along with the next door neighbors and their crazy colored uniforms?
Who are you talking about?
The Star Trek people.
Oh, those folks. Oh, we shared stage.
Yeah.
We were next door stages. In fact, there's something in the paper in the LA Times last week, which I don't think is right. We would go in the makeup rooms and we'd talk to each other, and when we had a few minutes, I happened to be in the makeup room when Freddie Phillips made the ears for the second pair of ears for Leonard.
Yeah.
It said in the paper that Johnny Chambers made those ears.
That's true.
Johnny Chambers did not make those ears.
He did.
No.
Yeah.
When?
They farmed it out to him because he was the only one who could get the swoop and the detail right on it.
Look, I knew Johnny Chambers.
Yeah.
This is the best moment of my life, by the way.
Let me tell you something. He was a brilliant makeup man. He made all the faces for Martin.
Absolutely.
He and Danny Streetback
Absolutely.
made all those faces. So I certainly respect Johnny Chambers. Don't misunderstand me. But why was I standing there with Freddie Phillips making on those ears?
Well, he was putting them on.
No, he said he'd made them. He was putting on Johnny Chambers' ears.
Yeah.
How do you like
It's
that?
absolutely true.
You can get rid of them if you want, Barbara.
Then in that case, yeah.
I know where my bread is buttered. I'm siding with Barbara.
Well, in that case, it should have said that Johnny Chambers made them, but Freddie Phillips put them on.
Absolutely. Every week.
I believe in a credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Nick, you talked about some of the great guest stars like Christopher Lee, obviously Brian Blessed, Jeremy Camp, so many great guest stars, British character actors you worked with. But also, there's a wonderful member of your Space 1999 family that's just beloved, and that's Barry Morse. I wonder if you can share some thoughts about Barry. Barry Morse.
You're asking me?
Yeah,
Yeah, Barry Morse was,
Sorry.
he was a classy gentleman. In fact, he's Canadian. But he loved all things English. And he was a class act.
I was going to say the same two words.
Class act.
Yeah.
He was always there, always on time. He never caused any problems. He was deeply like the character that he played. At least, I mean, I can honestly say that because I would often sit having quiet talks with him. He didn't interfere with anybody else. He was very, very quiet. He knew his stuff. And what you see is what you get. But then you've seen him in other shows, playing, was it Lestrade in The Fugitive?
Fugitive.
Right.
Yeah, he was a very clever actor.
I want to tell you, he wanted us to understand the Brits. So he brought in a newspaper headline from the day to show us. And it said, "Storm in the Channel. Continent isolated."
Not England isolated.
Right. Continent isolated. He said, now you know where you are.
Tiny little England,
Yeah.
huge continent.
Right.
It's isolated because England's cut
Exactly.
off.
Before we go to questions, but you should start lining up, I do want to ask you, there was a dramatic change for the second season. It involves Freddie Freiberger,
Yes.
who was the producer on Star Trek's third season. What were your feelings about Freddie and the changes that were made to the show for the second season?
No, you handle it.
No, go ahead. Why don't you?
Because I hated him.
And unfortunately, they did a very bad move toward Barry Morse. They didn't tell him that he was let go.
It wasn't a good idea.
No.
You're opening up a whole can of worms we really shouldn't get into.
No.
It's 50 years. It's okay.
This is exactly the case
Like
we should get into.
Well, just let me.
There's a lot that shuts us up.
I just want to say one thing.
Yeah, say it well.
When he came into the show, we all thought the show was off. I'd been told the show is finished. I'd gone back to Australia for film, and then Xenia Merton and Prentice Hancock, Clifton Jones got on the phone. They rang me. They said, "Space 1999 is going to start again. Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Australia." And I said, "What? Nobody's contacted me." They said, "They're not contacting any of us. We're all out of it. They're going ahead with another cast." And I said, "That's impossible. How can they possibly do it? I mean, what, does Moonbase Alpha blow up and we're all dead?" They said, we don't know. But Sylvia and Jerry are divorcing. Sylvia was the person that, as I've told you, cast me. And I loved her. She was wonderful. And she loved the actors. But Jerry wasn't particularly fond of anybody. He said to me, in fact, when Sylvia sat him down to meet me, he made some derogatory remark, and I said, I'm sorry, have I offended you in any way? She said, don't worry about him. He hates actors. And he was sitting there right in front of me, and he said, yeah, I don't like actors. And I said, well, that's gonna be lovely to work with. She said, don't worry about him. And she kind of made fun of him in front of him, and he didn't like it. So he had been very generous to me. I thought that he didn't like me, but he asked me to come back and do a new series between Space 1999s, because the show was off. I was in Australia shooting a film, and he said, come back and play an astronaut in my new show, Into Infinity. The episode was called Day After Tomorrow. And he said, he told me privately that the BBC wanted to buy it, and he was going to go ahead with it. And I was going to be the lead in this series. So I was thrilled for that. And Jerry was the person that cast me. So now I'm back in Australia shooting another film, and my friends tell me Space 1999 is going ahead, but not with you or anybody else that we know. And I couldn't believe it. So once I finished the film I was on, I flew myself back to England, and I said, I want to go and see Jerry. My agent tried to call him. He wouldn't see me. So I'm sitting there thinking, I can't believe this. Jerry told me he wanted me to do another series for him, which, by the way, was axed because now that we're going to do Space 1999, he couldn't do both shows. So I'd lost out on that as well. And then suddenly I got a call the day before the weekend that they were about to start. There was a Thursday. They were going to start on the Monday. I got a call from Jerry's office, will you come down and meet Jerry? I said, what for? And she said, I don't know. They wouldn't tell me. I think he wants to apologize for not having, talked to you. So I went down to see him. I arrived, and all the people were walking around doing the preliminary stuff again. I didn't see Martin or Barbara, but I went straight to Jerry's office. And he got up and welcomed me in, sat me down, and said, well, Nick, you've won. And I said, what do you mean I've won? What's going on? And he said, we want you back in the show. I said, what? I said, Jerry, I've been back in the country for 3 months. I've not been able to get near you. He said, well, it's a long story, Nick, but we want you back, all right? We're starting on Monday, and we need you.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
And I said, doing what? And he said, well, I said, who was your astronaut? He said, well, that's another story. Are you available? Will you do it? And I said, I don't understand. How many scripts have you got? He said, we've got 7. I said, and Alan Carter's not in any of them, right? And he said, no, well, we can fix that. I said, what, you're going to cross out pilot and write in Alan? That's not how this works. He said, you've got to meet Freddie Freiberger. He's a wonderful writer. He's now producing the show. And I said, well, I'm sorry, but I love Sylvia. I don't know what you're doing. He said, Nick, that's all water under the bridge. Do you want to do this? Because I want you to do it. But you've got to meet Fred first. So I said, okay. So he comes in. One of the first things he said to me was, okay, they finally talked me into having you back. And he said, but the trouble was, and I said, well, what was the trouble? He said, well, the writers, they made you very wooden. All the actors in the show were very wooden. And I'm going to humanize you. I'm going to humanize you. And he said, to make things better for you, Nick, he said, I'm going to promote you. I'm going to make you Lieutenant Carter.
Well, then. Well.
I said, have you seen this?
And did he salute? Did he salute?
I said, have you seen this show, Fred? And he said, well, of course I have. I said, how many? He said, I've seen them all. And I said, and you think that you want to make me Lieutenant Carter? You think it's a promotion? He said, yeah. I said, I was Captain Alan Carter, Fred. and he's kind of shifted in his chair. He said, I'm okay, well, whatever. We'll do something, but I'm going to humanize you. And I said, well, I don't know, Fred. And he said, let's not talk about it here. Come to my place tomorrow. Wait a minute. No, Saturday. Come on Sunday. No, this is now the day before they start. And we'll talk about it. And I'll promise you, I will write for you. I will make the character all that you missed before, And that's a whole other story. I eventually said yes, but he wanted to sign me to the entire series. And I said, no, I've never had a contract for the entire series. If you take me on, you employ me week by week, episode by episode. And if you don't write for me, I'm walking. And I came into the show, and the first few episodes, they did. The writers did write for me, and it was wonderful, and I really enjoyed being there. About 4 episodes in, I opened up a script, and I'm not in it anywhere. And one point in time, Martin's character calls out to Alan, and they cut to a moon buggy going across the surface with this little mini Carter sitting in it, saying, yeah, Commander. They said, are you nearly there? Nearly there, Commander. And just the 2 words, 2 lines. Wow. And I said, this is writing for me, Fred? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, you can stick it up your ass. And I dropped the script on his desk, and I said, you, American, it's true what they say. You speak with forked tongue. And I walked out of his office. He said, you're never going to work in Hollywood again. And I said, this is England, you idiot. And he chased me down the corridor saying, you can't walk out on me. I said, you watch me. And as I walked past Martin's door, he opened the door and he said, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I went out and I got in my car, and Martin came out and begged me not to make a stupid mistake. He said, he could ruin your life. And I said, well, I'm not doing too well anyway, buddy, so it doesn't matter. So, but that's a whole other thing. So they did, I actually went and got on an airplane and I flew to Austria. Oh. And I took my then-to-be wife away for an early, and I didn't tell even my agent where I'd gone. You would remember the 2 weeks that I
Well, first of all, I've never heard any of this.
Really?
Not a word. I didn't know any of this was going on, so thank you for clearing it all up. It was a mess, is what you say. I never had any interaction with Freddie Freiberger. I didn't dislike him. I didn't like his ideas. It was simple as that. For me, I didn't have any altercation or conversation that was unpleasant. So it was all you did. You took care of all of that, is what it boiled down to.
Well, he knew I hated him from that minute onwards.
Well, yeah, I understand your position. I'm not quarreling with it. I'm just saying it. I just learned that right here in front of everybody. So there. See, everything is a learning experience, Dick.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing what a bottle of scotch will do backstage. Okay,
Yeah.
let's do questions.
Wow.
Hi, my name's Janice. I just want to say thank you for being here. It is such a delight to have you here. And thank you for clearing up what happened is regarding season 2. Okay, because, well, that's a whole other story. But I guess what I'm wondering, and I don't know if this may come as a shock to you, but a lot of us watch this show like over and over and over again, so we're pretty up on it. And I was wondering if you guys are as up on it and can tell us like what was your favorite episode or one of the favorite things that you got to do on the show.
No, I can't do that because I can never do that about any of my work because every one of them I invest what I invest in it. I care about it. It's the way it is. I can't pick, it's like kids. I can't pick one kid over another kid. It's just not possible. With Mission, I do remember the 3 shows I got Emmys for. So I will admit to that. But I'm not sure they were also my favorite shows, but I certainly remember them. Other than that, it's a certain kind of every time. It's a wonder, it's a puzzle, it's an excitement. I can't wait to get it and do it. And I can't pick one over another. It's not anything I know how to do. Nick?
You want to answer that, Nick?
I know what Barbara means about you can't separate your children, you can't separate your episodes in the series. But I didn't have many episodes that were particularly special for myself. because I was part of an ensemble cast, and I love being part of an ensemble cast. But I was very lucky that I was chosen to play the astronaut who could go out on these crazy missions. And so I've got certain episodes that I remember very well and that I love doing them. When we returned back to the Earth that had died, and I met Regina, the girl that played, that was my wife, or my alternate character's wife. That was a fabulous episode. I loved it. I loved also Full Circle, where we go back and before like the cavemen. And Barbara was doing that crazy cave woman stuff. I love that episode.
You know, I do remember that one for a different reason than you can imagine. I had on caveman woman hairdo, raggy, dirty, crazy cave woman clothes, fur things hanging. And I left the studio that way because I wanted to get home for a particular reason. I did not change at the studio. Now, what happened next shouldn't happen to any teenage person. My daughter had a first boyfriend at the house. And she had to say, "This is my mom." I didn't know that.
You were wonderful in that episode. Just wonderful.
Thank you.
Because Barbara doesn't like to do ugly things, but she was really screaming and just fabulous. And I think it was one of your best episodes.
Thank you. I went up at lunch in the dressing room because I was going to have to make some kind of guttural sounds. What's that? I don't know. So I went in the dressing room and made some noises because I was just trying to get used to the idea of even hearing me making crazy sound. And it worked.
Clearly, Rudy Geinwright did not do those outfits.
And there were bear skins and animal skins.
Yeah.
I have a story that's a tiny bit like that. When I was doing another show, I had a driving traffic offense, and I was working on Hook with Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams. Oh, yeah. And I played Noodler in Hook. A crazy pirate with my teeth blacked out and all this stuff on me. And I said, I had to go, and I was going to lose my license, and I couldn't go anywhere. So I said to the second director, who would organize our stuff, I said, I've got to appear in court at 9 o'clock in the morning. Can I come in late? And he said, well, I'll check out the schedule. And then he said, yeah, you've got to be here by 12. So I came in, I got made up in everything for the show, right? Like this crazy pirate. And then I jumped in my car and I drove to the court. And they called my name and I stood up and I'm a pirate, right? And they had said that I had driven. It's a long story, but I said the policemen were lying. And that, and I showed photographs of where I had driven up through this thing, and they couldn't. And I accused the police of being liars. And I said, because I can show in the photographs that they could not possibly have seen me behind that bread truck. And I showed where he was standing, and the judge just put his hammer down and said, "Is this right?" And the cop said, well, I thought he was, whatever it was. And he said, right, I can't remember the expression that he used. He just told me to get out of my court. And he found me innocent. But I didn't tell him I was playing a pirate in Hook.
He might have sentenced you to a hanging.
You were in Los Angeles?
At the yard arm.
This happened in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Well, that's odd because they have a lot of funny folk around Los Angeles,
exactly right.
And they don't get stopped by the cops.
Well, also...
the movie business.
Yeah, and the court was on another floor, and I had to go up in an elevator. And I went up in the elevator, and it opened, and this girl was going to get in, and she looked at me, and she went, oh, and I said, come in. And the door's closed, and I went up to the next floor.
Oh, my God. I'll tell you a sweet story about happened in... The first day I was at Pinewood, I walked down the hall, and they said, there's a dressing room down there. And there are a whole bunch of men in there. They're chippies, carpenters. They're called chippies, okay? And they've got all this wood. And they said, oh, good morning. We're making you a bar.
Oh,
I said, a bar? A bar? A bar in a dressing room? I don't drink. Oh, what I asked for was a ballet bar. I said, you gotta take all that wood out of here, go get one dowel, and a couple of hooks. That's that's what I wanted, was a ballet bar, so I could stretch in the morning. They were building me a bar, a full,
Funny story.
Yes.
Well, we have time for one more question, so
yay.
make it a good one, please.
Oh boy. Okay.
pressure.
Thank you again for being here. As you can tell, this room is absolutely packed with people here to celebrate the 50th anniversary of you guys working. Thank you. Oh God, thank you. And as actors, you both have a wonderful body of work. And so my question in today's panel for you is, what does the legacy of Space 1999 mean to you as you sit here 50 years later with a whole room of people loving the show and loving you? What does Space 1999 mean to you now at this time in your life?
Well, it means exactly what you just said. It means people from all over the world write letters, are connected to it, we're inspired by it. Enormous, the power of television is just stunning. And the fact that it has that life, the fact that I did something so long ago that still has meaning to people, it's remarkable. I'm very moved by it. And it is, in a certain way, hard to understand, actually. And yet, it's glorious. So I celebrate you guys.
Thank you.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Nick, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. Sure, I do. I was lucky enough, not only having done both series of Space 1999, but to have done 2 episodes of different Star Treks.
Yes, yes.
I did Next Generation with Patrick Stewart and Will Wheaton, Final Mission, his last show. So, and it's a very popular episode, apparently.
Yes.
And I played a drunken astronaut who loved to drink the rocket fuel. It was a fantastic show. And so I've got folks here that probably know that episode very well, and also Deep Space Nine,
yes.
Honor Among Thieves, where it was a rip-off of Donnie Brasco, and I played the Al Pacino character. You know, it's interesting that Star Trek sometimes parodies other stories, and I was very fortunate to have done that role. But again, I wasn't cast in that part initially. The guy that got the role, he died. The director wanted me, and the producer wanted the other guy who was his next door neighbor. And so I lost out on the role. He came in and did one day's work, and then he died on the way home.
How did you manage it?
Well, I've been in prison for a while now. But that aside, Space 1999 in itself has got this extraordinary longevity, and it seems even now that it could suddenly start again after 50 years, you know, because there are so many people, even Star Trek people, of which you are, suddenly saying, I resisted it for a long while, but now I've started watching it. I actually really like it. And I've had young people come up to me, but mostly people in their 50s and 60s who remember it from when they, and probably a lot of you are, when they were 10 and 12 years of age, and how much they adored it. And it is heartwarming. I have people falling into my arms crying, and they make me cry too.
So apparently you did work in America again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Barbara, you also have a Gene Roddenberry connection. You have a Gene Roddenberry connection as well. You worked on The Lieutenant way back when for Gene Roddenberry. On The Lieutenant, his first show before Star Trek. The Lieutenant with Gary Lockwood.
Yes.
You worked on that for Gene Roddenberry.
I've worked on almost everything.
Well,
it's just funny how much work I've done, and all those characters, they're all in here somewhere. I'm like a mosaic.
Well, thank you for painting this mosaic with us today. What a joy, what a gift to have Nick Tate and Barbara BAIN with us. They'll be at the Treksperts booth signing So if you have more questions or want to meet them, they'll be signing immediately after the panel. Thank you so much for being here. We love you guys.
Thank you.
Alpha team in danger. Code red. Liftoff.
This is Space 1999 Eagle 1 spaceship.
Alpha Control, we have contact.
You can jettison the cockpit and engines, then link them up. It's Mini Eagle 1 in visual contact.
Alpha Control hookup is a go.
And their Eagle 1 rescue phase is complete.
Eagle 1, Roger and out.
Space 1999 Eagle 1 spaceship comes with 3-inch figures. Assembly required. You from Mattel.
As a sports fan, I have to confess. Sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
This episode is brought to you by FXX and Hulu. Futurama returns on September 15th, blending heartfelt moments with razor-sharp humor while accidentally saving the day. The Planet Express crew is back, defying gravity and common sense. From the creator of The Simpsons comes 10 new episodes where the romance is hotter, the threats are bigger, and the action hits harder. Don't miss the all-new season of Futurama returning September 15th at 8 p.m. Watch it on FXX or stream it on Hulu.
Welcome to Only Murders in the Building,
the official podcast.
Join me, Michael Cyril Creighton, as we go behind the scenes with some of the amazing actors, writers, and crew from season 5.
The audience should never stop suspecting anything.
How can you not be funny crawling around on a coffin? No, that's true.
Catch Only Murders in the Building official podcast, now streaming wherever you get your podcasts. And watch Only Murders in the Building, streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply.
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think Golder, because new sweet and smoky special edition gold sauce is here. Made for your chicken favorites at participating McDonald's for a limited time.
And we're back. And the moon is back.
The moon, well, at least
it's a window to heaven.
Looks like the moon is there.
The moon.
I didn't
moon.
I didn't mean to get into a fight with Barbara Bain.
Oh,
but I did.
That was funny.
You did.
Because we need to keep the actors well informed at all times so that they don't keep saying these falsities.
Bill George really appreciated the fact that you got into a fight with Barbara Bain on stage and wouldn't let it go.
It wasn't a fight.
Bill George thought it was.
Barbara Bain was born in darkness. You merely adopted it.
Well, I guarantee that I've spent more hours watching Space 1999 and Mission Impossible than Barbara Bain has.
Oh yeah, that's
probably
I'm
so.
I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true.
But she was delightful. I absolutely love her, and Nick Tate is awesome, and what an experience to talk with them both.
Yeah, I told you my son was saying that. This is wild. So at school, this girl comes up to him and says, "Oh, you're Isaac." She goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "Oh yeah, my grandmother was saying how awesome you are."
What?
Yeah, and it was Barbara Bain's granddaughter, and
oh my God!
Yeah. So that was really nice.
That's
Barbara
amazing.
Bain likes my son much more than she likes me. I don't think she knows my name, but Isaac she knows.
That's awesome.
But I think Nick Tate likes me better. No, I don't think he does.
No,
I think he likes Isaac better too.
He likes Hazel better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. And speaking of Hazel, if you haven't supported her Kickstarter by now, what's stopping you? BoldlyStrip.com. You want to go and support her Kickstarter.
Indeed.
So that she can deliver another powerful book from the Hazel collection.
That's right.
And it's good to support Hazel because she's a wildly creative talent, and I'm just so I'm so thrilled. Her last book was a success, and I know this book will be as equally, if not even more, successful.
Yes, no representation of Space 1999 in it, however.
Well, we tried. Remember when she was discussing about the new book, and we're like, "Well, you did Star Trek for the first one. Why don't you make this an homage to science fiction?" And we gave her a whole list of things she could have done.
Yeah,
and so when she decided, she said, "So what are you doing this? More Star Trek?" It's like, okay, don't listen to us. What do we know? We're only the Treksperts.
We know nothing.
But it'll be great. She knows what she's doing. She knows her audience. So I think she's probably, in this case, probably, it's like she says, oh, featuring Space 1999 and Forbidden Planet and all this stuff. And she'll be, and like all these people who'll be like, what? And it's like, oh, thanks, guys. I'm glad I listened to you. Like, I'm glad now we're not responsible.
Well, I mean, if she was cosplaying Altera, she could say, what's a bathing suit?
I know. We had a whole conversation about like there's so many things that she could have done, but she didn't want to do it. That's okay.
That's all right. She's a delight.
She is a total delight, and and this was a delight. I have to say, I think one of the surprises of the convention for all of us was, we wanted to do the 50th anniversary of Space 1999, as we mentioned, is an important show to us, and it was the 50th anniversary, and if not now, when?
Yeah.
And we moved heaven and earth, and I really got to give a big shout out to Stephen Simak for making it possible to bring Barbara and Nick to the convention. And it was so gratifying to see that it was nearly standing room only at the theater.
Oh, yeah.
We packed them in. People really wanted to see these two, and the outpouring of love and it was so nice to see, and it meant so much that these two people gave us so much joy as kids. We could return the favor to them, all these years later.
Well, or at least try to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think they were both very gratified by the response.
I'm glad.
And from what I understand, they both made a lot of money too.
Oh, that's
someone did. Money can't buy you love, but it can buy you a lot of other shit.
But it can rent to own.
That's right.
Anyway, well, look, we'll be back with a Star Trek related podcast next week. We're getting very close. We're getting very close to the end of our 7th season. So our hiatus will be 7 days, and then we'll return with our 8th season premiere. I think next week might even be our season finale.
Technically, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think next week is our season finale. So you don't want to miss the 7th season finale. And then the week after, we'll return with our 8th season premiere. And it's pretty...
And yes, we know we've skipped over the anniversary of Star Trek. Don't worry. We'll take care of that.
No, we didn't. Last week we did the unproduced Star Trek for the anniversary.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about the anniversary.
Well, because
by the way, guys, there was an anniversary of Star Trek. See, now we talked about it.
Oh.
Yeah, it was the 59th. It's like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the 60th that matters.
That's right.
And
only the round numbers, only the even numbers matter, right?
And we have plans within plans, wheels within wheels.
Sure.
Whatever they said in Dune, we're gonna.
I forgot to tell you.
We're gonna leave it all on the field with our 60th anniversary as we go into our 60th anniversary year. Next, starting in 2 weeks.
And our 60th season of the Inglorious Treksperts.
No, I think I'm committed to doing 10 seasons of the show. I've thought a lot about it, and I think that's when I'm done.
That depends on what you count as the 9th season.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, well, we'll see.
We'll see.
We're only going to talk about Deep Space Nine in the 9th season.
That's
Nothing else. So,
have fun, guys.
Yeah. Darren will be taking the season off. Anyway, and also, if you're sorry you missed us live at Star Trek Las Vegas, and you should be, we are coming to you live at some great Galaxy Cons later this year, and these are all going to be amazing shows. Des Moines, September 12th to the 14th. St. Louis, October 10th to the 12th. Milwaukee, a Galaxy Con first, November 7th to the 9th. And we wrap up our Inglorious Tour 2025 live in Columbus, December 5th to the 7th. And starting next year, we kick it all off. DAREN DOCHTERMAN will be on the Star Trek Cruise, February 20th to the 27th. The Star Trek Cruise
Star Trek.
I've had enough of you.
That would be
You
awesome.
kick and you kick somebody off the
I don't think
stern
he's
of
gonna
the.
be on
Morts Joy Chew.
Yes.
You could say he's cruising.
No.
It's cruising. Star Trekking across the
Oh my God!
universe.
Did you see that Mego commercial we had on the social?
Oh, so good.
Where Star Trek. That should be the theme. Star Trek. That should be our new Inglorious Treksperts theme for the 8th season. Star Trek. I always love, it's like in RoboCop 2 when the title of the movie is in your theme. RoboCop. It's like awful, just the worst. And of course, you know who did the score to that? Larry Roseman, who did the score.
Oh my God!
The Christmas Star Trek movie.
Yep, who did the Star Trek 4 score. We didn't talk about that in our Star Trek 4 panel. Probably didn't want to.
Well, because next year is the actual anniversary of Star Trek.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but we did our Star Trek 4 panel.
We've done our bit for King and
We did our
Country.
point for King and Country. Yes, thank you. We all have the same quotes.
Yeah, we do.
We got the
needed to
same
be said
quotes.
with great conviction.
Exactly. Where's some great Space 1999? Oh, before we finish, what's your favorite episode of Space 1999?
Well, my favorite is Breakaway, the first episode. But I remember most vividly Dragon's Domain with the car wash monster.
What about you, Ashley?
I would say my favorite is Dragon's Domain, but I really love Breakaway.
Oh, and I would say probably Another Time, Another Place, but I really love War Games.
Okay.
Yeah. I used to love Balance Bringers of Wonder as a kid, but then I tried to watch it.
No,
and I was like,
and it wasn't so wonderful.
It's weird.
No, it's just, I don't know. The car wash monster. That was another car wash monster. It was more like an octopus's garden monster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But at least they tried. It wasn't funny foreheads and weird noses.
But
they went crazy with the aliens.
But my favorite quote is Martin Landau saying, "And now we're sitting on the biggest bomb man's ever made."
Yeah, exactly. I know. You never want to say that. It's like that War of the Worlds movie where the tagline was what? What was the tagline for that War of the Worlds movie with Ice Cube? Yeah, it was like
Jesus, man.
Don't watch it, for God's sake.
It was like something, you won't believe the horror or something like that. I don't know. Wow. Or you won't believe how bad it can be or whatever. I don't know.
Right.
Something like that. Anyway.
Goodness. Anyway.
Well, listen, we'll be back next Thursday with an all-new episode of the Treksperts. So on behalf of Ashley Edward Miller, Darren Doctorman, myself, Mark A. Altman, keep on trekking and subscribe at trekspertsplus.com. We'll see you next Thursday.